Pebble Beach Concours d'Elegance, or Goodwood Festival of Speed, long considered the two best car events in the world, but there's something better. Bob's backyard in suburban Detroit. Bold statement, but why do I say that? Well, many years ago, one of the greatest car guys on the planet, a doctor from rural Ohio, convinced his wife to let him invite his best buddies over to park their cars on their lawn, drink beer, and eat White Castle. Basically, to do what car guys do best, tell tall tales. Well, his son just happens to be the global design director for Buick, so he moved the party to Detroit, and his friends happen to run the three major car companies in the U.S. So the party, now 9 years on, has become something different now with two rules. Number one, you gotta bring your own personal car, and number two, even though there's no longer any White Castle, it's moved to artesian pizza, you still have to park the car on the lawn. And so we start with something I have never seen before at Bob's, now what, 8 years of this party? A Rolls-Royce drophead coupe, 2009. Here we're having a bit of a picnic. I'd like to point out, the owner, he is a big spender. Champagne, probably not real champagne, 1609, with a vehicle that probably costs more than that. This kind of stunning in a couple of details. You guys know I'm not a huge Rolls-Royce guy, but the teak wood here on the tonneau cover, this one had a bit of a couch in the back for the rear seats. Now, something fascinating about this car, no, it's not that the RR stays upright as you're driving, or the Spirit of Ecstasy, she jumps down here if she's scared. Rather, the owner of this car also owns this. Arguably my most favorite car here at this show. This is a Pontiac 6000 STE. What makes an STE special? In 1983, I believe, Pontiac came out with something that they were going to compete with the Europeans head-to-head on. It was a GMA car, front-wheel drive. They gave you the 2.8 standard, but they changed things like the interior. This one doesn't have the suede interior, but it does have the buckets that we saw in the original car. This one has the pneumatic seats. It had all buttons. That's what I loved about Pontiacs. You had buttons on the steering wheel. You'd even have a button over the rear view mirror that you would switch on and off the subwoofer. Like, stupid things like this is why I love cars like this. Even the digital display is stupid. It's got this weird thing here where it comes up and down like a bar graph and then literally reads out like a digital clock the speed. This one's got the 3.1 V6, and by this point they were offering them as all-wheel drive, although you probably only got about 30% of traction back there. A couple of more party tricks with this one. It's got a tire inflator built into the car in the trunk, even comes with the cable from the factory. Number two, this car comes with its very own jacket, or at least the owner brought the jacket. Remember this? We build excitement, and I would say this is like one of those old like style auto jackets. I don't think the owner's gonna miss this, but I will say the car is for sale. So it just doesn't come with a jacket anymore. Okay, now that we got the old business out of the way, let's get to something we really haven't seen before here at Bob's Party. Yes, we've seen new General Motors cars. Here, CT5E Blackwing. I'd like to point out, not just the Blackwing, but a Blackwing that has the black and tan interior. Thank you for giving us some contrast. But more importantly, station wagons. Good old-fashioned station wagons. And I've told you many years, my father used to call these things pig fair cars because the farmers in like rural Oregon and Wisconsin used to take their pigs to the farmer's market in a station wagon. Now this obviously is too fancy to be a pig fair car. This is a Buick Regal Tourex. There's another one over there. Now the one that just left, that was an XF and it was the high output version, so kind of murdered out. This one, it's more Vermont University professor. Now a fun fact we'd only learn at a place like Bob's Cars in My Yard party. The annual road tax on that Rolls-Royce, because of the way the state of Michigan bases it on the original selling price of the car, is more than the total value of that Pontiac. What's that old saying in the classic car world? We love all old cars, no matter what they are. And I will admit this one doesn't look like much, but oh boy, is it special. It is special for a number of reasons, but the biggest reason why it is special, this is a 1991 model year BMW 3 Series convertible. But here's the catch. It has lived its entire life in Michigan. The current owner, who works for Car and Driver, he bought this car with 28,000 original miles 5 years ago. He has put on about 7,000 miles, and this, you could literally eat off this bumper. You look at the paint, it looks like it was PPF'd from the factory in 1991. The inside of the car, there is literally not a crease out of place anywhere on this leather interior. The shift knob, back in the day, they did do a factory shift knob that was half leather and half wood. I did that in my 1997 Z3 2.8. The dashboard, the gauges, the steering wheel, not a scuff, and this is not restored. The car's not worth enough to be restored. Then what's really, really fascinating, you look at the back of this thing, even the roof. Now I can't honestly tell you if Tony didn't change the roof or not, but it's super clear, this plastic. And let's just remember, this car lived its entire life in Michigan. And so we come to that point in the episode. What did I bring this year? Now, as much as I wanted to bring my own personal car, I love you guys, but 5,000 miles round trip ain't happening. So I did ask for something von Zuffenhausen. I got close. Von Stuttgart GT63. Yes, this is the more powerful of the two, 577 horsepower. Now, this one, it's got practically every option in the book. This one has a stunning red leather interior with the Recaro seats. It's got the glass roof. It's got the black wheels. Now, last time you and I drove it in Spain, we didn't know the price. And we took a guess. We said this would be about a $225,000 car. Turns out we were right. Base price about $175. This one has a lot of options. But more interestingly, in spending a couple of days with this thing here in Michigan, not in Los Angeles, like this, it gets lost in a place like Los Angeles. It is a nondescript car. No one gives it a second look. Here, it's like parting the Red Seas. There was an instance where there were two ambulance drivers and they were resetting the ambulance. They were pulling the stretcher out. I was driving by on like a country lane. They dropped the stretcher to pull their phones out and give me a thumbs up because they had never seen this before. Can I just say, I love Michigan. So, a little bit behind the scenes here, where I parked the car for the entire week before Bob's party. It sits under a tree. There was nowhere to park the car in the garage. So we're running kind of late to Bob's party, and I couldn't show up with a dirty car. So I'm bringing it into this brushless car wash. Hopefully it doesn't damage the car. Mercedes, please forgive me, but I wanted to make sure your car looked good before I got to Bob's. And all of the Detroit 3 saw the GT63 for the first time. Now, at an ordinary car show, we'd spend a lot of time waxing on poetically about arguably the most beautiful car design on the planet, E-Type, XKE, whatever you want to call it. However, this is not an ordinary car show, as we learned over the past many years, so we're going to focus on something far more interesting, and probably the owner is the more interesting part of this vehicle.
George.
Adam Wadecki. For those of you that don't know Adam Wadecki, he's kind of like, you're like Clark Kent and Superman of the classic car world.
I'll take that.
So the Clark Kent, he is a bean counter in real life. Like he literally is a bean counter for a large supplier.
Yes.
He's going to be crowned like CFO in like 3 days, probably before this comes out. But he's also a massive car guy. How many cars do you have in your collection?
Well, that's a mystery, but I'll say it's over 40.
It's a mystery wrapped in an enigma. It's 45, and but they're not 45 Porsches, Ferraris. What's the concentration of the collection?
Mostly mid-60s to early 70s, full-size domestic luxury or near-luxury cars.
So he's focusing on cars that most people have forgotten. Now, granted, people haven't forgotten this, but he has things like, I think by far, your best episode, because he has a great YouTube channel, your best episode I ever saw, Bustleback Seville.
Great design.
It is the repository of all information. This guy knows everything about everything because he's worked in the industry for so many years. So with that, what did you bring today?
I brought this 66 Oldsmobile Toronado, the first year for the Toronado.
What are 3 things what makes this thing important?
I would say a number of features of the styling, these big fender arches here. That was something that was really launched on the Toronado. Also in the front, this barbell theme where it's skinny in the middle and then flares out wide. And this was also the first Oldsmobile with hidden headlights. So most people know it was a front-wheel drive car, but a number of the design features were also novel for Oldsmobile.
Now, I've always had a debate with people about these. I mean, I think the big thing about this, it was a front-wheel drive car, this
Yes.
and the other two. Do you think that was a mistake to put this kind of design on a front-wheel drive platform? Or was that the technology is so new, let's go with something so just it changes the convention of design?
I think that, the car would have done about the same whether it was rear or front-wheel drive. I think they tried to spin it as though front-wheel drive was novel and that's why people should buy it, but I don't think a lot of people understood it, and I don't really think it lifted the sales, and it cost more because of it. So as a bean counter, that was painful. Drive up the cost of the car.
What is special about this particular copy?
This one I actually got from a YouTube viewer from Seattle, Washington. So it's an autumn bronze color, which is rare.
Best color.
My favorite one, and then it's got the rare cornering light option as well, too. But no air conditioning.
I would think that would have been standard back in the day.
Optional.
If I'm learning correctly, or really understanding this correctly, you have effectively turned your YouTube channel into your hunting ground for your next classic car.
I have. So anybody who says they have a car like this, how can you pass it up?
I'm doing life all wrong. So I need a 79 Eldorado, no vinyl roof.
There you go.
Factory sunroof with a contrasting color. Oh, I'm not paying for the nose for it, so you get the deal on it. And with that, a huge thank you to Adam, all the key people shaping the car world in the U.S. that happened to bring their personal car to this year's event, Bob, and of course his incredibly patient wife, for not only making this year's event the biggest, but making it an incredible testimonial to the man and visionary that created it, Ray Boniface. Until I see you in the next episode, stay tuned.